This episode is brought to you by Monkey Nutrition.
When it comes to drug policy, America has been driving it in the UN summit for years. They have been the driving force pushing on other countries to adopt their policies when a lot of other countries really didn't have some of these drug issues that the United States did. But you know, when you're breaching foreign policy, then you can not get foreign aid. So a lot of countries are kind of like, well, we didn't really have a marijuana issue, but if, you know, we have a big disaster and the States won't give us foreign aid because we're not adopting this, then we're going to adopt it. So, you know, when Brett was looking at how to make it different and we looked at the other pot docs out there, that was something that made it different. And Brett, and you'll see in the film, and I promised Brett I wouldn't give any spoilers on how for tomorrow.
We'll see how that goes.
But he really did a great job of putting this global perspective by adding, you know, the Britain part and you just there's so many great speakers coming out of Britain that we thought weren't getting over here. They were huge, but kind of in North America, they weren't getting all the information through podcasts and through our social media sites. We were seeing them all the time, but they weren't kind of out in the mainstream. Like, it's amazing how many people in North America don't even know that Portugal decriminalized all drugs over 12 years ago, right? People are like, even when I was on the CBC, they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, like there's actually been huge studies examining the Portugal experiment and everything, and just no idea. So it was interesting for us on how to make it bigger, more global, connect to a larger audience.
UK is the one that we always hear about over there, though, too.
Well, there's so many
UK
great personalities here, like, you know, Howard Marks in itself. He's just a kind of a legend.
He's a documentary
You know, he
himself.
can't travel to the U.S. If he ever lands on U.S. soil, he'll be arrested because of his federal warrant. So everyone's always like, how come he hasn't been on Rogan? There's a good reason he hasn't been on Rogan.
Probably one of the nicest guys we've met, too. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we had two.
Did you have him on?
Yeah, we had 2 hours. This is fantastic. Sure. And Professor David Nutt, another, you know, very idiosyncratic type of guy with a real history, a real opinion. You know, he's a fantastic perspective.
Critical story too, like how that story hasn't received more attention is just beyond me. Like I barely heard about it, and it was only because it was online, which is one of the big things in our doc that we end up talking about as the shift takes place, how online, you know, news plays into it. But as far as our media, I didn't hear a single story about that, and that's a pretty big story when somebody's getting fired. For that reason.
I know, and well, you can go look at it, but I know he compares ecstasy to equisy, which is, you know, equisy is riding horses, and more, you know, I try to explain this to some very intelligent people, like more people die every year riding horses than taking ecstasy, so that makes that more dangerous, and people are like, what are you talking about? Ecstasy is more dangerous. I'm like, no. Don't miss London Real. Subscribe now.